can go to, oh, there you go. All right, now we can get started. All right, well, welcome everybody for joining us here tonight. This is one of our ongoing series to provide you some great educational material to help you with your personal finances and improving your, overall net worth and financial ability. So we're grateful to have tonight with us Parker Pursell, who was recently been promoted to now the vice president of the eQRP company, or senior vice president, right? So get that right. He's very knowledgeable. I've known Parker for at least a year and a half, I think. Before that, I was familiar with Damon Lupo as part of the group as well, and now they're doing great things to help people to save a lot of money on taxes who have been investing with their IRA and were not aware of such a thing as a UBIT tax. So we're honored to have Parker here today to present to all of us and teach us the right way to use our IRA if you choose to use your IRA to invest. We'll save questions till the end. We'll let Parker do his presentation. We may throw in some comments and questions along the way. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. We'll definitely try to address them at the end or open it for you to just ask live with us. So we'll turn time over to Parker if you want to go ahead and present who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Parker Pursell. Thank you, Don. I have known him I've been here at the eQRP for almost 2 years now. My starting date was November 2nd, 2020. And if any of y'all remember what date that was a day we elected our President Joe Biden into office was that day. So that was my very first day, was show up to the eQRP. Didn't know what the heck I was doing, and also had to go vote. So it was a fun-filled day, but it's been a blessing since being here. I've got a background in Chick-fil-A. It's really kind of where I learned a lot about myself, my passions for people, training, education, and through some various stops of working at the family business to being unemployed for a little bit. The eQRP as a community has really changed my life, and I think that my story is probably a lot of people's that are in the same scenario, and what this community can do, not only to your life personally, but also just the education piece. Just the more you know, the more you can grow. And I'm sure you've probably heard that line before, but I'm thankful to be here. Don, thank you for having me. See some familiar faces on here too. And so it's good to see you all. And my goal tonight, really just setting the table, is to help educate. The topic of retirement, I think in the real estate space, can be a little touchy because it's very much one-sided, or just stay away from it because, oh, you can't touch your money. My goal is for you to really understand what these vehicles are to their fullest capacity, and also kind of walk away knowing like what is the best vehicle for you and your strategy and what you're trying to do. And so that would be my goal for you to walk away tonight, just more knowledgeable and confident. And obviously ask questions just if you have them. So I will go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get this. Can y'all see my screen right now? Perfect. Okay. Already scheduled, already talked about introduction, who I am, but the eQRP, what it stands for is Enhanced Qualified Retirement Plan. It's our terminology for essentially a self-directed 401k for individuals and business owners that want to self-direct their retirement into alternative assets with more control and freedom. And so I use this picture of William Wallace a lot because I think it, from a visual standpoint, just embodies who our company is about, what our ecosystem is. We're really here to help liberate people from the traditional way of thinking about retirement. And so, even though we're a retirement company or a service, like, we're really the anti-retirement plan, because our goal is to help people get out of this traditional system of thinking about how they utilize their retirement, but also take a tool, which is what this is, and put themselves to where they want to be in the future. And so when you think about the biggest shackle holders on the system, it's really the IRS and Wall Street. And for me, as I was saying before, like, I am one of these people that had to have my financial shackles broken because I had a lot of limiting beliefs about money. When I came in a couple years ago, my whole thought process on how I was going to I had things of wanting my wife to stay at home, right? Not work. We've got all these values and things we want to achieve, but money is just one of those resources that helps us get there. But I thought I was going to get there by, promotions and then raises, and then eventually I'll end up where I want to be. Little did I know that, the only thing that you get with a higher W-2 is more taxes. And if you aren't doing it, any different, then you're probably going to end up staying where you are. And so coming into this community, being with Damien, like really submersing myself in this ecosystem, it's done so much for me in the way that I think about money, and taking a tool like this to be able to help share knowledge with people to kind of get themselves out of the situation that I was in as well. So I am one of those million people that our goal is to help break free, because we think that if we could help free 1 million people from this traditional way of thinking about money on how they're told, then we feel like we could really start a movement with our company. And so that's our mission. That's what we lead with. And as I was saying, that Wall Street is that big traditional shackle holder, because every time you drop money into the retirement system from a traditional standpoint, Wall Street is the one that benefits. Why? Well, because you have nowhere else to take it. You just put it in all these different options that you get, but it doesn't leave their playing field, right? So they have control over it. You don't have a say when you put money into Google or Netflix or Apple. The reality is that, like, as a minority stakeholder in these companies, you can't help tell them what to do in the direction they're going. And then when they make bad decisions, you're the one that's left to pay, right? So our goal that I like to lead with in terms of values in this other kind of side mission that we have is humans, right? We have this need for more certainty and variety. Like, at our core of who we are, we desire those things. And you think of the traditional system of Wall Street and the options that you have to you, there's no other way to do it. Like, there's no hope of getting out of that system, right? So when I look at this picture here, I think of all these individuals who have no hope, right? This prison is a real image, like these prisoners, because when they wake up every day, they're going to eat the same food, they're going to do the same activities, they're going to sleep in the same bed, but they have this feeling of, man, I wish I could go take a walk out on Main Street or go to the ice cream shop. Well, guess what? They can't. Why? Because they're trapped. And that's what the traditional system does, is it doesn't give you any options. And then when you think of these other greater aspirations that you want to go do, then guess what? You can't do it. So this feeling of variety, right, is awesome, because imagine walking into a grocery store and just being able to shop down one aisle. That'd be pretty depressing. And for me, I got a lot of other things that I need and an appetite for much more. But the way that's typically poised to us is, okay, well, you can only shop down this one aisle. Don't go looking at all this other stuff. You don't have access to it. So what we did here at the eQRP, like that feeling of that lack of control, that lack of variety, really forced us to create something to allow people to jump outside of that box, right? To be able to self-direct into the things that they want, the alternative assets we know, like, and trust, which, we're all sitting here tonight talking about real estate, happy camper capital, right? Like, we got all these options that are available to us, but if we don't know the right vehicle to use, or if we don't know what's out there, then we'll never get to take advantage of these opportunities with just a separate tool that gives some different advantages. And so, much like Steph Curry, when we talk about certainty in these assets, when he shoots a three, how certain do you think he is that he's going to make it? Probably pretty dang certain, right? So the eQRP and what this community is was something that was created to give people more certainty. We wanted you to have the same certainty that Steph Curry has when he shoots a three, because guess what? I guarantee you, by a show of hands, if I said, hey, how many of you out there feel more certain that the stock market is going to outperform your real estate asset class? I guarantee you, I can't see you all right now, but I probably won't see any hands up. Okay, so if you've been doing this type of investing one way, meaning like this traditional way of thinking you've got your just IRA sitting there going up and down on the Wall Street roller coaster. Do you feel like you would have more certainty if you had control of it, right? If you had the ability to tell it where to go, if you had the ability to put it in an asset class like real estate, do you think that you could double, triple those returns in a quicker amount of time than you would in the traditional stock market or this Wall Street structure? Absolutely, right? I mean, we're just always going to bet on ourselves. And when we have the knowledge, we have the education, we have the support, when we have the right tool, then we're able to do that. So I like this image of Steph. I'm a big Steph fan. I just really love the way that he takes control. And also I love that he shoots the ball beyond half court because it's just really cool. So what the eQRP is, in the mechanics of it, we'll kind of run through it. And, if you have questions along the way, feel free to just throw them in the chat box and then we can address them at the end and ask open-ended questions too. But it's a private retirement checkbook, right? You can fund deals in as little as 5 minutes, meaning that you don't have to ask permission to go invest in any asset. If I was to go to Don and we were having lunch, he said, "Hey, Parker, we're closing today, but I got one spot left. And since you're here, I figured that you may be interested in investing in this. Is this something you'd want to do?" I'd be like, "Well, yeah, I got some money in my retirement, my eQRP. I'll just send it to you right quick. I get on my phone, wire the money out, and it's gone." I don't have to go through the arduous process of checking with a custodian and waiting on them to initiate a transaction on their end. It's more about cutting the red tape, cutting the friction out, because time is very important. You're all here tonight, right? Because you're looking to take action, you're looking to learn, you're looking to grow. Showing up is half the battle, but being at the right place at the right time is also part of that as well. And so when you kind of come to that intersection of opportunity and knowledge, then you got to make a decision, right? So that's what we try to do through this community, is provide you with that. Now, you got different options that you can invest in. Really, these are just a couple. I use the State Farm jingle a lot. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. There's so much that you can get involved in, right? These are just a few different asset classes. Real estate, you can do global investing, gold and silver, Bitcoin, private lending. You can go into active businesses if you want to. I mean, there's whatever it is, our team's here to really kind of talk through the mechanics of how that would happen. So I like to talk about vehicles real quick because not all retirement accounts are created equal. And as I said, my goal is to help educate. My goal is to help enlighten the differences between the vehicles. And especially with your strategy specifically, it's important to make sure that you have the right tool for the job. So if you go to cook and I give you a hammer and you've got a Phillips head screwdriver, you're probably not going to get very far with it, right? It's not going to accomplish the thing that you're looking to do, which is prepare a meal. But if I give you a wooden spoon, if I give you a spatula, if I give you some of these other utensils for your strategy to cook a meal, then guess what? You're probably going to come out much quicker, more efficient, and less probably loss of food in the process. So that's my goal here, is to really kind of give you some information about the two different vehicles that you can use to self-direct. And the difference, first off, between self-directed IRAs is there's just more friction involved in the process. The way that they're structured legally is there has to be a fiduciary oversight into the account. So as you all probably remember, back in November last year, DC was trying to get rid of self-directed IRAs in general. They didn't, but what they did is they said, "Hey, you cannot be the manager of the LLC. You have to give managerial oversight or control to someone that's not your parent, spouse, or child." So for me, that's kind of scary when you think about it, because I mean, there's people I trust, but the reality is, it's like, why would I give managerial control of my retirement to somebody that's not myself or someone else? Debt is not your friend inside of IRAs. The way that the rules are written is essentially you're going to get taxed on that. We'll talk through that. The contribution limits are lower. Inside eQRPs, the way that they're structured is they give you more freedom and access because you are the trustee of the account. So you, as the trustee of the retirement savings trust, you are able to act on your own behalf, thus cut out all the friction in the middle. You know, our team is not someone that tells you what, we just coach on the how. So people may say, hey, Parker, do we have to call you to do an investment? We're just here to provide validation and confidence. So we could talk strategy all day and help give you that information that you need. But the reality is you never have to contact us. You could just invest and go. Debt is your friend inside this plan. So because of real estate, that's why we're here tonight, what we're talking about, these opportunities. Anytime there's leverage involved, it's only going to help supercharge your retirement account. And you're not going to have a tax liability like you would in an IRA. And then the contribution limits are higher. We'll talk about kind of the qualifications of a 401k in general, but because you get to be the employer and employee in this entity, you have the ability to contribute up to $67,000 a year, which is, you know, about 10 times more than your traditional self-directed IRA. So I'm going to talk through a deal real quick that we did in Texas. This was a client of ours that initiated this, but just a case study so you can see how it works with the proper vehicle of investing in these syndications passively. So the deal that was promoted was a $50 million purchase. 10 million was put down, 40 was leveraged. So in a percentage-based standpoint, 20% was put down, 80% was leveraged. 5 years later on the exit, it sold for 100 million, so it doubled. So if you had used your IRA in this deal, your money doubled to 200,000. That's awesome, right? We love the gains, we love that profitability, but you had debt involved. Okay, so now you've got what's called a UDFI triggered UBIT tax, which stands for unrelated debt financed income, that triggers this unrelated business income tax. Now, this and how it works is you're going to have to pay profits equal to leverage used, right? So if you had 80% leverage, 80% of your profits are going to be taxed up to 37% because of this written stipulation inside of IRAs. Now, I don't know about any of you. Our goal in real estate, our goal as passive investors is to escape paying taxes or just never pay them or defer them. We don't want to pay taxes if we don't have to. Now, why is this important? Well, when you're looking at your specific strategy for investing, it's important to understand the tool that you have. So if you are going to use an IRA, you need to be aware, right? If you're a syndicator and you're promoting this to your investors, you need to be aware of this tax liability that's going to be put on them by investing in your deal, and they may not ever know about it. So if you use an IRA, you're going to be hit with this tax. And in that deal alone, this individual would have paid up to $30,000 in that tax. Now, think of this in perpetuity, right? So an individual who doesn't know this, who just thinks, well, you know, this is just how you do it. You invest in a self-directed IRA, you're gonna have to pay this tax. All right. And they just think they'll never, that's how it's always done. So they could go throughout the course of their investing cycle in their IRA and pay these taxes over time and never know that they don't have to. Now you say, well, how is that? Well, eQRPs and the way that they're structured and set up inside the 401k system, it's exempt. Why, Parker? Well, they just didn't write it in there, right? So, you know, the IRS is pretty black and white on what you can and can't do. And that's how we got around it. Now, we're really bullish on the 401k structure because of the flexibility control, the lighter fluid it gives to you as an alternative investor. Now, retirement vehicles, like I said, it's just a tool. I'm not saying, oh, you need to dump all your money in a retirement plan. That's how you're going to get rich and famous and free. But you can take a vehicle like this, right, and take these awesome features of it and grow your real estate wealth tax-free, right? If for me, I actually had a conversation earlier with someone today just about some unique strategies on how to get your money out, right? I'm a Roth guy. So if I'm ever going to put money in, like in my eQRP, it's all Roth. Why? because I can pull it out at any time I want to, but also I'm using this vehicle to invest in assets completely tax-free. So I will never have to pay tax on again. You're going to pay taxes at some point, right? So I preach this Roth strategy in general because you can take that money out and go invest it in whatever you want, because your basis, as you're all probably aware when it comes to Roth, our plan has an in-plan Roth conversion aspect of it too, that like once you do it, you don't have to wait 5 years. You can just pull it and go. But I have access to this money at any time I need it. It's growing, it's invested, but also I'm making all this money tax-free. And if I had something happen outside of my retirement plan that I needed access to this money for, I could just pull the basis out of what I put in. So it's not locked up. It's just a way to keep it in this vehicle that I'm never going to have to pay taxes on. And then if I needed to pull it out, I could. So debt for people that have self-directed Roth IRAs, which unfortunately can't move inside of this plan, they're stuck. Roth IRAs are just stuck in general, and I'll talk about that in a second. But you're going to be taxed on those Roth dollars too if you invest in real estate that has debt in it. Inside the eQRPs, you won't. So moving forward, if you are already invested with a self-directed IRA in a deal already, is there hope? Absolutely. So not all is lost. We have people come to us all the time that have self-directed IRA vehicles and like, hey, I got a deal that's cycle or maturing at the end of the month, and I need to get this thing out so I don't have to pay this tax. We can roll it over, re-register the asset to basically represent a 401k structure, and then now you're completely rid of having to pay that tax. So when you think of having knowledge around the different vehicles that are out there, and you just came across this intersection that we talked about earlier, these people acted quick, and then they saved themselves, you know, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 that they would have had to pay in these deals. And that's a good thing, right? And now in perpetuity moving forward, they're saving themselves every other deal because they know this information, that tax they would have been paying. So instead of giving that 15 or 20 or 30 to Uncle Sam, now they're putting that back in their plan and just compounding that to other deals. So that's awesome. And I think is really good to know that just because you're invested inside of a deal with a self-directed IRA, you can get it moved over and out of that stipulation that would subject you to that tax. Now, talking about who's qualified, 401ks, the way that they're built is the IRS states you have to have business activity to back up supporting a 401k plan. So I don't know how many of you have W-2s, but for anybody that is working for said company, we'll just say Amazon. If I worked at Amazon, the money that I earn there, I could put into the retirement plan because I am working for Amazon, which Amazon sponsors the retirement plan. Therefore, money I earn from Amazon, I could place into that plan. If you are a syndicator, if you have a side hustle, if you're a passive investor, or you're a small business owner with employees, you can absolutely have a plan like this. And there's really no reason why people should not jump into a 401k structure that's investing passively. And alternatively, anybody can do it. And our team's really here to help you figure out how that works. Like I said, the IRS just states you have to have business activity. You don't have to have an LLC. The gentleman I was talking with earlier, we brought up TikTok. So if you were a 15-year-old generating money on TikTok, doing dances and all sorts of stuff, you're getting paid all this branding, like you yourself are the business unit, right? So therefore you would qualify to have a plan. You don't even have to get paid. You could say, hey, I'm trying to generate ad money on TikTok and here's my business activity. It just has to be justifiable. So, you know, the options of business activity are limitless. So there's no reason why anybody shouldn't jump in. Two ways you can put money in a 401k plan like this, eQRP, is via rollover or contribution. So if you have any old retirement plans laying out there, you can throw those into this plan and roll them in. Or if you're self-employed, you have a business that's generating income that you're paying yourself through, you could contribute that way as well. So you can have both deferred and Roth. There's no income limits. So those are the two ways that most people come to us. Their strategies are different. So I was talking to a gentleman today that had a couple of companies, and he was looking for a way to qualify. And so he just wanted to set up a plan just to move money into. He didn't want to contribute because he had a couple million sitting in a traditional IRA somewhere. Now, first off, was like, good for you. That's awesome. And now you have access to go putting this into some alternative investing deals. And really quick, I think this is important too. Not many people know this, but we also created what's called the Safe Harbor eQRP, which gives business owners with employees the ability to self-direct. Now, in a traditional structure of, we'll just use a small family business, you put your money into your retirement plan, you match, or you have a deferral set up for your employees, but that money's just like locked away. But these businesses are your main income drivers, right? So we created a machine essentially for these small business owners that are dumping all this money into these plans. Now the ability to continue doing so because it helps them from a tax-based standpoint, right? But also now they have access to it to go invest. So any of you who are syndicators out there raising money, it's important to know that you're probably talking with business owners that have employees, and if they have an appetite for alternative investing, I guarantee you something like this is going to speak to them. And think about the access that you would have to their capital to be able to invest, and they may not even know that they could do it. So if you provide this option to them, it'd be great because they'd be like, wow, yeah, I've got, $500,000, $1 million sitting in this plan that I've never been able to touch. I'd love to invest it, right? So we give them that option to do so, which is great. And they get all the benefits of just like your traditional eQRP structure. Our team, will help set up all the compliance piece, all that to keep them kosher. But they got the asset protection, total checkbook control, which is great. No UBIT tax, and invest in all the things that we know, like, and trust, and love to invest in. So a couple of unique features I'd like to kind of highlight real quick is if you're a real estate professional, this is going along that Roth component real quick, but we had a client of ours that was a dentist and her husband was a real estate professional. And essentially they converted 300,000 of their retirement to Roth tax-free because they had some bonus depreciation that they were able to take advantage of. And because of that, it was a net wash event. They took that bonus depreciation and then the 300,000 they were converting to Roth and just eliminated the taxes. So now they have a completely retirement account, 300,000 tax-free that they can pull out and go invest whatever they want if they want to. But now they're earning completely tax-free returns on what they invest with this strategy. So if you're a real estate professional, it's another unique way to limit your tax liability through a unique vehicle like this. And they were very satisfied when they learned that they could do that. This is a picture of Damien as a little boy. This is when he had hair. He's actually got some handlebar mustache now. It kind of scares me when he's walking around the office, but he's figured out a way to grow hair on his face, but not on his head. But him as a kid, this was a picture of him modeling. And any of you with businesses and have kids, you actually can contribute to your kids' retirement plan and pay them through your business for any type of activity that they're doing for you. So if they were models, if they're doing some type of admin work, pushing brooms, who knows what that is, but you can contribute to their eQRP as kids up to $13,000 a year. And it's considered Roth because they don't have to pay self-employment taxes up to $13,000. And everything you put in is considered basis. So if you want to think of almost like another 529 type plan, and your strategy kind of fit around this would be another unique way to put that money away for your kid, but also all the basis you contribute. So that 13,000 a year you contribute, you're investing from a Roth based standpoint, but you have access to pull that out at any time. They get to 18, they're going to school, they may need a car, they may need to help pay for tuition. You could pull that basis out and pay for those things for them and not pay taxes on it because it's Roth. There's this is a kind of a funny story that Damien went during the 2008 crash, and took his Black American Express card to Costco and tried to buy some toilet paper because, as we saw recently back in 2020, when the world's freaking out, people tend to just store up and stock up and nobody can buy anything. So and why this is important is when he had his Black card and he tried to purchase this pallet full of toilet paper, the lady at Costco said his card got declined. And as you know, Black American Express cards, there is no limit. Like, you just don't get declined. But they lowered his limit to $11,000. And he's like, well, geez, like, I guess I really don't have control and I really do have a limit. Whatever they say, they can just manipulate it and change it. So if you needed some money real quick, you ran into some issues, whatever it may be, you can play bank with yourself. This is another way to be able to take money out of your retirement plan and invest it in some unique opportunities that you may want to use to your advantage. If you wanted to generate some bonus depreciation outside your retirement plan, you could take a loan to yourself and then take that 50 grand and go put it in your own deal. You could go, loan it out to somebody, whatever you want, and then realize all the benefits of that money outside the retirement plan to you personally. You just pay that back to your plan at a ±1 prime interest rate. So it's a unique way to double dip on a deal if you think about it. So if you pulled it out, you charge yourself a 6% interest to pay it back over 5 years. Couple that with an investment opportunity that, let's just say you get 20% return. Now you've just earned 26% because you are paying yourself 6% on the loan, and then you're earning said 20% on that 50,000 that you're investing. So like I said, it's just a double dipping opportunity from an interest-based standpoint on those returns. So in closing, this feeling of Steph, like I just love the Warriors. I love what they're about, but it's really wrapped around this idea of having more certainty and control and controlling your own destiny, to be quite honest, because when you have the education, when you have the knowledge, when you've got the support, you really can get anywhere that you want to go. And so for me, and my goal here at the eQRP is to really help spread the knowledge. I'm not here to force anything on anybody. Our ecosystem is really beautiful in the sense that, like, our office, it's funny, like when we talk about positions and titles in our office, that it doesn't really feel like anybody is above anyone else, because we're all collaborators. We're all strategizing for our clients. We're bouncing around offices saying, hey, like, we got this unique opportunity coming up for one of our clients. We want to make sure that this person is thinking about it right, or are there any blind spots that could come about? So, our ecosystem is really built to, like I said, help educate and support and provide those opportunities to our clients when they rise up. And we want them to feel that same certainty, that Steph has when he shoots that three and they go out and make an investment. So this isn't for everybody, right? But if you're an alternative investor and you're using your retirement account and you like debt, then there's really no other vehicle you need to be in than a 401k, just because of the less red tape that you got, more control, more variety in those options. So if you want more information about the eQRP, I know a lot of you, we talk directly over LinkedIn, meetups, you name it. You can text the word eQRP to the number here on the screen, and we'd love to just send you a book, send you some information. I'll put my information in the chat too. So if you want to schedule some time to talk with me on the phone, I'd love to be able to do that. And that's honestly where I get a lot of joy out of, is just being able to build relationships with you guys and help talk strategy. And like I said, if we can't help you find a solution, then I'll try and point you in a direction to get to where you want to go. So that's my goal. I hope you learned a little bit tonight, and would love to open the floor to any questions that you may have.
Yeah, thank you, Parker. That was honestly, I think mind blowing on many levels here for especially those that have never heard of this before. I've got a couple questions that came to mind for me, I guess, when we were going through this, that I'll bring up. So when you're saying, like, inside of this eQRP, these are not taxed ever, is that any type of tax of any time, or is it just as UBIT tax only? There could be some other types of taxes that are still in there.
No, so it's a different tax structure, right? So all the money that's inside a retirement plan is tax deferred, right? You're going to pay the income taxes at a later date, or you're never going to pay taxes again, meaning the income tax on said gains, right? Now, if you're getting into some unique transactions, like you're going and buying a single family home, then there's going to be taxes involved in the purchase itself, right? So on any of the gains that you make, there's no taxes. If it's Roth and all the gains you make, any distributions you have come back from these investments are not going to be taxed, or when you pull it out, it's not going to be taxed. So when I say never taxed again, I mean from the standpoint of never paying income tax or any of the capital gains tax that would go along with it. And then obviously that UBIT tax that you have associated with the IRAs and using debt, you're going to have to pay that, because that's just one of the stipulations that they have inside of the IRAs that you have to pay.
All right, cool. Now you mentioned earlier that somebody could use this if they have even just a standard W-2 401k. So in that case, you're saying you would set it up with them so they can have that their contributions deferred from their paycheck directly to the eQRP instead of their company 401k. Is that how that would work?
So the way they're structured is the sponsor. So for me, I've got a side business outside of working at the eQRP. So any business activity that's sponsoring the plan, any money you earn, so all the money I earn from eQRP LLC has to go into the eQRP. I can't take eQRP money earned and put it into another 401k, because that 401k is sponsored by a separate line of business activity, which would then disqualify me putting that money in because it wasn't earned from that business activity, right? So that's when I say if you got a side hustle and you're generating income, any of that income that you're earning there, you could put in, right? And a lot of people are kind of in this flex state of working W-2s and then moving on to building their own side business. So it's just another way for them to put extra money in outside of their W-2, right? If their company's matching, that's great. Take the free money. And then you could just finish off your 401k for the year through your eQRP and side hustle business if you wanted to, and be able to, self-direct that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's something I've heard, many years ago. As my background is all around finance and different things, and for a long time, people always said take the company match up to that point, and then anything above that put into like a Roth or something else that get you better options.
Yeah.
So, and I think you kind of mentioned this at the very beginning. So I know a while ago, I don't know who would say that the lawmakers or somebody was trying to pass a law where you could not hold real estate within your IRA. So you had to, if you were in there, you had up to like 5 years to get it out or something along those lines. Is that still the case, or is that not passed then? Sound like you said, or what's you're more up to speed on that than I am. So if you can help all of us to understand that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, with IRAs, it's really not subjective matter, right? It's just objective how it's written. IRAs, that 5-year rule is written in there, but with this plan, because we've built in a in-plan Roth conversion, meaning that it supports you taking that traditional money and then flipping it into a Roth, there is no stipulation for you in the 401k structure to wait 5 years to pull it out. You can just take that money and then pull it out then, which what a lot of our clients do is they'll convert and then even pay the taxes with the basis of their said conversion as well, because they can pay it immediately. So like I said, it's just how it's written inside the 401k structure. And with the eQRP, there's no wait time. You can just convert and pull it out if you needed to.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, wasn't there a law being passed that you can't even hold real estate in your IRA?
Oh yeah, so you can, but that goes with the managerial control of the LLC.
Okay, yeah. So as long as you're not controlling it or
correct,
close family or controlling it. Okay.
Yeah, you can't hold any asset that you directly own. So if Parker Pursell IRA has then, ABC LLC, which I'm also manager of, anything inside that LLC that I'm the manager of, I cannot own. Like, it's considered disqualified until I remove myself from managerial control and I say, hey, Don, I need you to be the manager of my IRA LLC, then it's qualified.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense, but that's what they said you had to do.
Right. And so those that currently hold real estate in their IRA through, an LLC or whatever, up to what date do they have to move it to like an eQRP or to sell out of it or whatever it may be? Isn't there a certain cutoff date they have to get out of it?
That's a good question. I used to know that. But my mind's like, I come across so much information every day. Like I know what you're talking about. We talked about it a few months ago, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I would say the sooner the better, right? Like,
Right.
I want to say maybe it was a year, something like that. You're going to make me look after I get off just so I can see, because I'm stumped.
Right, yeah. So I know I've got, so one of my side projects, I have a JV deal with one of those partners is using his IRA to fund it. And so I might need to tell him, hey, talk to Parker to create an eQRP to move it into there for now.
Yeah.
Cool. And so you also, I thought it was a great point. You mentioned that, if someone wants to start a small business or have some employees where it's like now I think it's a government regulation that you have to have a retirement plan or something set up. So you're saying you could essentially set up an eQRP, 401k, Roth, whatever plan, and that would qualify for that government requirement, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And, it's, think of all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? The FUD we all talk about. There's a lot of it out there. And, many people that are coming to us are kind of riding that fear, uncertainty, and doubt that, not much is going to get better. And they want to make sure that they have the ability to control the direction of their retirement future. Because the main argument that's kind of coming in is people are like, man, I've lost so much money recently. And I'm like, yeah, you have, because you didn't have control over it. And when you saw it coming, you still couldn't do anything about it. Right. Like that's the hard part. Yeah. Is you watch your money go down and then you're like, well, before I make any moves, I got to wait till it comes back up. And I'm like, why? Like, do you feel like it's going to go back? It's going to come back quicker on their dime or in your control? And they're like, oh, well, I mean, I would probably earn it back quicker. Then I'm like, then why don't you do it? That's the thing is when you see these waves coming, then put yourself in a vehicle that allows you to jump ship as well. Like take your money out of the stock. You can still invest in the stock market with the eQRP. You can do all the things that you're currently doing, but the reality is that now you have the ability to control it. You can pull it out and you could go, John Wick style, buy gold and silver and bury it in a safe, in your basement under some concrete and leave it there. Right. So it's having access to those things and knowing that you have control, you have possession over it and not leaving it to somebody else and hoping that it just works out. It's just hard right now. So it's tough seeing people go through it.
That's great. Yeah. I think one of my opinion, I guess one of the best benefits that you mentioned is the easy access to the funds. We've had several people that have invested with us through Happy Camper Capital that have used their IRA funds. And like I said, they have to go through custodian and get their approval. Sometimes the custodian has to be the one to even sign for it and everything. So it can make it complicated and not as easy as everyone would like. So it sounds like this would be a great way to get around all that, to just make it simple. Yeah,
it's just eliminating friction, right? Like, I mean, think of the things that we engage with in life. Like, why do we have iPhones? It's because it creates more efficiency and freedom in how we transact and communicate. Like, that's what this thing is. That's why we created it. So anytime any product that helps bring more efficiency to said widget or activity or service that you're doing, it's probably going to win, right? And if there's value to it, it's obviously going to win. So that's why we're bullish on this structure in general.
I'm going to jump in real quick, Parker. Thanks for the demonstration or the presentation. But I had the same question as Don regarding your safe harbor, your employee program. Mm-hmm. It's relevant for us right now as a Colorado company. We've got a mandate coming next year. If we've got 5 or more employees, that we have to either provide them a retirement plan or they're going to end up in the state retirement plan, which I can only imagine will be wonderful. So that said, when I look at something like this, of course, I want to give, our employees a really great option. Now I think about, like, for example, the custodian requirement with the self-directed IRAs, there's some of the intermediary. Is there any hurdle with this product being that's a little more loose for sophistication that the person with the plan would have to subscribe to or adhere to, or do we need a financial advisor involved? How does that look for implementation?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Without jumping too far in the weeds, the reality is that we have a TPA that we work with that makes life easy for the business owner. You can custom build these plans to really fit your investing style. So typically there is a broker on the account that works with the employees, because the reality is they're probably not going to be sophisticated investors, right? And there's some rules and clauses that you can put in there to keep them from, going off and buying Dogecoin with their retirement, because it's just not suitable for them to do so, right? Could put them at risk. All the risk is the same, whether you're investing in real estate, stocks, like you can't get around it. The asset's just different, right? But you as the business owner, what the value is that now you have access to all this money you're putting in to go self-direct. So really this plan amplifies the business owner because they have the sophistication, they have the capital to deploy, but it also satisfies the safe harbor laws for the employees, giving them the same option. And they have the help and support of our team. They also have got a broker to work with. So we dot all our I's, cross all our T's, and make it really easy for you as a business owner to self-direct retirement. And like I said earlier, I think now it's such a great time to talk about something like this in y'all's space of raising capital. And because you probably have a lot of business owners that feel the same way and are looking at their company retirement and they're like, geez, like this thing is just tanking right now. But you could give them an option to be able to take that and go invest in these deals, and everybody's happy. I mean, I see all the stuff Don puts up, I'm like, it's pretty good.
That's great. Any questions from the remaining audience members here?
I'll throw in a question here. So first off, I am an eQRP client, but Parker and I did not collude to set this up. I'm just trying to tune up my understanding as based on the tool I got. So my question is, when if somebody is kind of looking for a tool like this in this space, one thing you might, as well as self-directed IRA that you talked about, you might also come across solo 401ks. And maybe if you can talk about how this eQRP is distinguished from a solo 401k. And then maybe, I think this is a kind of a corollary to that, is with the eQRP, is there a custodian involved at all, or is it purely, I think you had it labeled as a trustee? And so anyway, take a crack at that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, so first off, the difference between us and solo 401ks, I like to say you kind of get what you pay for, right? It's a product that allows you to kind of do the same thing, but when you go into a really cheap product, you get cheap service, right? And so many people that are trying to self-direct and have all these things they want to get into, the reality is they don't have a team that's going to support them. Joe shoots me an email or he calls, we talk on the phone, and that's my job. Like, I'm here to help Joe get to where he needs to go, right? So first off, I'd say that's like one of the big things. Secondly is asset protection that we build inside of the plan. Someone might say, well, hey, I can just go make my own LLC. You could, but they have to be written appropriately and exactly right, or you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. Our team custom builds those in for our clients so they have asset protection outside of the market as they're investing in real estate, private lending, you name it. So we build them in Wyoming specifically because Wyoming's great for the corporate protection laws. And then thirdly is business owners and entrepreneurs, given that we serve many small business owners, many entrepreneurs that are growing their businesses, right? A lot of you that, like Don, y'all's company that you're building, you're not trying to keep it small. You'd love to probably have 10, 15 employees and have this thing just crushing it, right? So if you had the ability to self-direct your retirement and you were stuck in a solo 401k, then the second you get a part-time employee, then you're gonna have to shut it down and go get something and put it back in the stock market. The eQRP, it's adaptable because of the way it's written. You can just essentially change the language of the plan. And now you have the ability as a business owner to have employees and also continue self-directing. So those are just three really unique factors of the eQRP and why we built it the way we did, to where you don't stop doing what you're doing. You just change a little bit and then keep moving in the direction you want to move.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else real quick?
Maybe just, I don't know if you can simplistically answer this, but you talked a little bit about like doing rollovers between, your eQRP as 401k money to Roth money. How do you execute something like that? I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's a simple answer or too complex.
It is. So, our team builds these for clients. And since you have a bank account, you've got traditional dollars in the bank account listed. We'll just say Joe Giuliacci eQRP 401k. It's traditional money. When you do a Roth conversion, we just create another bank account for you that says Roth, so it's separate. And then you work with your CPA and say, hey, I converted X dollars to Roth this year. You just move that money over. And then now everything that you're sending out is going to come back in that account completely tax-free. But it's just as simple as working with your CPA and moving that money around to a separate bank account so you don't get it commingled with your taxable dollars.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So to I guess to simplify this, then, so if somebody had an eQRP account with you already,
mm-hmm.
and they want to invest in something with Happy Camper Capital, for example,
mm-hmm.
They have you said check writing ability, so they can just essentially write a check and mail it, or they can do a wire transfer, I'm assuming, right, from that account
yep.
as well. Just super simple, nothing, no hoops to jump through, right?
No custodians. You don't have to ask permission. You can ask for validation, meaning like Joe can call me and say, hey, Parker, I got this deal I'm looking at. I just want to make sure that it's qualified and I'm not doing anything dumb. I'll be like, yep, you're good to go. You can do it. We're just here to help in the how, not the what. So we want you to move as quick as possible on your deals, and we don't want to be in the way and keep you from doing that.
Yeah, just to echo, I guess, my experience, I love the simplicity of having that control where I can wire money. I wired money into Starrett Creek, by the way, and it came right out of my eQRP. It was no mess, no muss, no fuss. So love that, part of the eQRP that I hear way different stories from other people in other tools.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Joe, with us.
Say that testimonial speaks volumes, because we've had some IRA companies that are a different experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I'm being from Chick-fil-A, like, I don't know if this means anything to you guys, but I, worked there for about 3 years and was pretty deep within the company in my path of wanting to become an operator, and just seeing how they do things. It's all about touch points. It's all about the customer experience and elevating the little things that really transform a consumer's life in their product. And so Damian and Joe's probably got to experience this a lot. Like, we are very high on the personal relationship piece. We love being able to connect and help, and not just send you in a phone tree or whatever it may be. Like, our goal is to build relationships with our clients and help immediately, like as quick as possible. So there's nothing more frustrating than feeling like a number, feeling like a transaction. And it's just, I truly believe those that like build relationships well are in the long game, and they'll always win. Like, They may not get there as fast, but they're built to last. And that's what we're trying to do here is build this thing to last and do it the right way. And we're not going to be perfect every time. We make mistakes, we're growing, but we are very quick to change and adapt. And so I appreciate you, Joe. Thanks for sharing that. And I just know we're doing it right here. Like I feel it, and I'm proud to work here. I really am. So it's fun.
Fantastic.
Looks like we had one last question come in, Don.
Oh,
I'll read it out. It's
Yeah.
from Andrea. It says, to confirm, if I'm employed with a traditional W-2 with a 401k, can I direct funds to an eQRP on my own with dollars earned in the traditional W-2?
No, so you can't, because you're earning money from that company. So you would have to put the money you earn from that company in their 401k plan. Now, if you had a business on the side, if you're a TikTok star, we'll go back to that. If you're getting this ad dollars from your TikTok, then you could contribute that money to your eQRP. But any money you're earning from another employer or business activity would have to go to their plan. But if you leave, if you terminate service and you've got this 401k now that's hanging out there, you could move it into an eQRP. But until then, you're kind of stuck with that until you leave.
and you couldn't, if this is set up, like you said, like a Roth, right? Where you're contributing after tax dollars anyway. If you had, say, you get this W-2 job where you just contribute the minimum there, like 3%, but you want to put in more rather than putting into that 401k, could you still put it into an eQRP Roth account?
No, it all works the same because of the structure. 401ks, they require you, any money you earn would have to be earned by that business unit and put into the plan, whether it's Roth or traditional. You couldn't circumvent that.
Gotcha.
Well, especially since this is such a great tool for self-employed people and business owners, I think we might need a 200 level class on this next.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, like I said, there's some people out there that really bash on retirement accounts, and I get it. Like I do too, in the traditional sense. If you're telling me to stick my money in the market, then yeah, keep me away. But this is just a tool. And when you understand all the components of it, it's like a Leatherman, right? I can whip open a Leatherman, and if I'm just using it as a pocket knife, then I'm getting a little use out of it. But the more I learn of the different features of it, like, oh, wow, I can like open up a can of tuna, or, ooh, I can go change these plugs out on the wall. Like that's what this plan is and can do. You just have to kind of ask the questions and figure out like, how does this thing work? And that's what we're here to do. We're like the living, breathing operating system behind this plan to help maximize people's strategies.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, I think, if there's no more questions, I just want to thank Parker for your time and for this great knowledge to share with all of us and learn something new here. And hopefully those that are watching this later on YouTube will be inspired to contact you and, hopefully plan to use those funds with Happy Camper Capital, ideally, but also put in anything where they can help progress their own personal, net worth and finances is a great tool to use. So again, thanks for your time, Parker, and thanks everybody for joining us today, and we look forward to have everybody come to the next one.
All right, appreciate it, Don. Thank you, Adam. It's been a pleasure tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Parker, and thanks everyone who showed up and who's watching the recording later.
All right, y'all take care.